Well, I want to ask you a lot about hunting, especially in Alabama. But before we get into that, you want to introduce who you are and like what you do.
Yeah, man. My name's Matt Jennings, host of the TV show The Game, and very blessed. Just a little redneck from Woodland, Alabama, and just clawed his way up through the industry. And man, just truly thankful for y'all letting me, come on here with y'all tonight, and
Yeah.
can't wait to
No,
get everything going.
it's good to have you here. You've been around a while. But I'm guessing you started hunting when you were young.
Yeah, man. I started hunting. I killed my first deer when I was 8 years old, but I was getting dragged through the woods or dragging my mama and papa or my daddy or my mama through the woods, before then. So I've
Yeah.
always been there.
Yeah. No, and it's
us too.
Always in Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm originally from, Woodland, Alabama.
Sure.
And
What's up? We are going to thank a few of these sponsors that help make this beautiful show a reality for all of you. So
Yeah.
here we go.
First up,
Let's start out with Bivouac.
Bivouac Bow Co. I shoot trad most of the time.
I don't.
Jared doesn't. When I shoot traditional archery, I shoot the Bivouac Backland bow. They're a sponsor of ours. They're great partners, make great bows, and they know a ton about everything.
So a big reason, I would say, to why we're so successful and we have so many bucks on the wall is because we use HuntWise. HuntWise is a GPS mapping app that you can download on any phone, any platform. You can look up public land huntings, ORV trails. You can get the weather. They actually have a HuntCast 2.0 that they teamed up with Jeff Sturgis to make. It's awesome. You need to check this thing out. Go to HuntWise, download the app.
I feel like if you go into the woods without optics, it's like going into the woods without pants on. Would you agree with that?
To a point.
To a point. We are huge fans of running binoculars, spotting scopes, and different things when we hunt, even whitetail. I bring binoculars out every time I go. We choose Vortex Optics because they make the best glass in the business. They have an amazing warranty, super clear glass, super helpful people that work there.
Also, if you want to rep some sweet Vortex swag like this warm shirt on a nice fall day, head over to Vortex Wear. Thank you. And use the promo code TFC20 for 20% off your purchase. Saddle game, you need to be in it. If you haven't been in it yet, then you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
Trophy Line Tree Sales makes some of the best saddles in the industry. They have 3 different platforms that we use and that are awesome.
I want to make a quick plug for the Wingman with a couple steps. You can take one less stick, and it's like a combination of a stick and a platform. I've been exclusively hunting out of it this year, and my mobile setup is so sweet. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome.
I highly recommend the
Awesome.
Wingman
If
system.
you're ready to pull the trigger on that and you want to get with James and do the Wingman, head over to the website and you can save yourself 10% on the purchase. TFC10 will get you that. I like to think I single-handedly got James to switch to compound again, but I'd probably be a liar and everyone would call me out on that. We shoot prime bows. We think they're awesome. Great accuracy, super shootable.
Made here in Michigan.
Made in Michigan, so we love that. It's hard to complain.
That's where Jared was made. So
Surprisingly,
we like that. Yeah.
You're welcome. So go check out these prime bows.
We are of a firm belief that the arrow is the lifeblood of the archery industry. We've said it 1,000 times. But in all seriousness, we are huge fans of arrows that are durable, that fly well, and that kind of make up for some of my inaccuracies in the way that I shoot. So we shoot Vector custom arrows.
The hammer.
The hammer.
As Thor would say.
They are made in Wisconsin by our buddy Isaac. Great arrows. And if you want to go and get yourself some, have a little bit of a discount, use TFC10 for 10% off. Or call Isaac up and tell him we sent you.
Mm-hmm. You want his phone number? Comment below.
Yep, comment below. Yeah. So when I think of Alabama.
You think of Roll Tide.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I think of Roll Tide. And I think, is it swampy?
No, man. Where I live at is real hilly.
Yeah, sure.
And
Okay.
pasture land, a lot of cows, chicken houses, so forth.
Yeah.
More down south is where you run into the swamps at.
Swamps.
I've been down to Bayou La Battery.
Bayou La Battery.
I've been down there, man.
For what?
We just went and visited down there.
How is it? Who's
Swampy.
we?
Swampy, yeah. Swampy.
It's swampy.
Anything by the name Bayou.
Ain't much to it, I'm sure.
Yep.
So we were messaging a little bit, wanted to talk a little bit
Yep.
about this, about hunting. You guys have a different rut than the rest of the country, like,
You dang right.
which is crazy to me because we're tail end, really end of the rut, second rut maybe, and we can get into that. But you are not really even into the heat of your rut yet, right?
No, not at all. Like it ain't even. I did go the other morning in Alabama, and I seen two smaller bucks. They was cruising pretty heavily,
Sure.
and then I seen a mom with two little yearlings, and they were still all running together. But man, the rut's so weird down here. You never know. Like I've killed deer as early as mid-November till late January up to February,
Right.
and you just don't never know. Like across the road from my house, 1st of December, man, it's rocking.
Sure.
Like that's the deal. That's where you want to be at across the road. But you go behind my house, it don't start popping till Christmas Eve or Christmas week.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds, I mean, and that's just across the road. And I learned that a long time ago. And then you go down the road from my house, it don't start bumping till January.
Sure.
It's weird.
You got me thinking about that a little bit because it's hard for me to imagine that. I mean, you're talking about across the road, so you're talking what, a couple 100 yards across from each other?
Are they just different bucks that you're seeing act different?
Yeah, 300-400 yards, if that tops. And honestly, I really got to think to do with the does a lot because
Right.
I think these does come in quicker than other does, and the bucks stay on the left side of the road.
Sure.
Early,
I could see that. Absolutely. Yep.
and then they cross over.
Yep.
Is the property behind your house just like a different habitat? Like, is it thicker, or is it the same, or?
I mean, at the end of the day, man, it really ain't that much different. It's a little bit more of a pine thicket, but not a lot.
And
here's the
not kind of the reason I was going with that though is
Yeah.
because maybe throughout the rut, those deer are just getting pressured or pushed around, and maybe they feel more safe in the land behind your house, and maybe they're congregating back there. I don't know.
What I had where I used to live, I had a family of does that would live in my woods, and so they would go into heat every year, same couple of days, really, like a same period of time. But I wouldn't see that right down the road because that's a different group of does that is just slightly different.
Sure.
Their cycle or whatever. I don't feel weird saying that on the podcast, but the cycle must be different. And so
I don't know anything about that.
But the reason I ask is like for a guy like me, I'm realizing, and I started to message Jared about this, but like suddenly if I can hit the rut in the new year, that's a new set of vacation days for those of us with day jobs, and it's like, well, I could get rut round 2 just by going south. So as I was thinking through that, I'm like, does that mean you just have a super extended pre-rut, or just like your early season is like 2 months long, or what? Like, how do you hunt leading up to the rut if it's such a long period of time? Is it truly just bed to feed and get in between?
Man, to be honest with you, mock scrapes are food source, and if you ain't, you shoot your does, get them out of the way. But other than that, I've never killed a buck or a good mature buck until I think the earliest I've ever killed it, maybe November 15th, and that was on a scrape line. And I just got lucky that year,
Sure.
I would say.
That's the classic Jared play. You just get lucky. You're out there at the
Well,
right time.
And as weird as this sounds, I've had this property, like all my properties run together. I've been very blessed. My uncle, we got a bunch of family land.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this one in particular deer that I chased for 3 years and pretty much failed high school and everything else because of this deer. I nicknamed him Bone Crusher. And
Nice.
he would come on our property during the rut, but he would summer and winter on the other one, and he would just, pass through. And finally I got permission to the neighbor property, which is, just a hop and a skip.
Right.
But that's where he was living at.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my mama, and like this deer, he was a part of the family like every day. This wasn't no cell cameras, none of that cool stuff back then. It was the good old cutty back,
Yeah.
or the big long moultries. And every day at lunch, I would go pull a card, and he would be on it, and we would look at that joker on lunch break. And as dumb as this sounds, like he was a part of the family, and I hunted this deer hard for 3 years. And on January the 18th, It was cold. It was nasty. And my dad looked at me that day and he said, "If you don't go kill that deer, I'm gonna go kill it." My dad don't even deer hunt.
Right.
He cared less about it. And that evening, it was 69 acres. I had 42 lock-ons on 69 acres, and I was going through the woods, going any, mini, miny, mo. And I went to this acorn flat, and I could see where the deer had been, hitting it pretty good. And I was like, well, I'll hunt here this evening. I ain't hunted here all year. And I made me an old shit handlebar
Yep.
on this tree, as dumb as this sounds.
That wild of a tree?
Yeah, I mean, it was just plain Jane, slick, nothing to it. And I said, when I shoot him, I said, I'll hold on to that so I won't fall out of the tree.
That's a good move. Yeah.
Sure enough, at dusky dark, 2 bucks come up, and I heard them walk right to me, and I looked up, and I seen him. He just come up out of the ground like a ghost, and I shot him at 52 yards, and total of me seeing him, killing him maybe 5 seconds,
Jeez.
That's how it
And
goes
he
with the big
realized-
ones. I feel like they'll just sometimes a pop. I had that this year. One popped up behind me grunting, and I saw him. I had him at 30 yards, and within under 30 seconds, it was pretty much he had moved through. And it was just like,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
But that was mid-January, and those 3 bucks was running together on a feed pattern,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was across from my house. And then behind my house and down the road, they're full-blown rutting at this time.
Sure.
But across the road, they was done. They was all back running together on that food pattern.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I want to go back. 'Cause did I hear you right? Did you have 42 hang-ons on a
Yeah,
60
that was going there too. 'Cause I was
69
thinking about
69
that.
acres? Yes, sir, I did. You dang right I did.
Gronk would love that.
Hey, that's
69
that's a
acres.
strong,
That's a Gronk-
that's a
Ron
strong
Gronkowski.
stand game right there.
That is. So what's
Oh,
your?
dude, I wasn't playing. It said on
You went
killing
in.
show.
You went deep.
Well, I asked. I'm interested in this because I've been after. Well, I think there are really $2 on this piece of public land that I found. I had the encounter I just said where it came out. It was a place I'd never been. Went and just kind of walked in, waited for light, and just moved into a new spot. I'd just like, I don't know what it's gonna look like. I might just scout it and get out of here, but I want to see what's going on. Ended up hanging, and I had that buck come in at 30 yards, but he was just the only shot I would have had was kind of through some brush, and his head was down, and I just felt like I had an expandable. I have an expandable on it. And I just thought, I don't know, man. I think he's going to keep walking. I'll just wait for him to go broadside. He didn't.
He did not.
Couple weeks later, I see. Yeah, he did not. And a couple weeks later, I see him on a cell camera right there. And so I called Jared. And by the way, this is why I never listen to Jared's advice. Because I called Jared and I'm like, hey, man, this thing is on. I was on my way out to pull the card. It sends me a picture, or to move my camera. It sends me a picture as I'm on the way to move it, and that buck had walked by. I'm like, you know what? It's like November 16, I think, here, which is day after the opening, or 2 days after the opener of
Gun season.
somewhere 16, 17. Anyways, gun season. So I'm like, I'll just go check it out. On the way out, I grabbed my bow because I didn't have a shotgun. We're in a shotgun-only area. And I walk out, and like last second, I'm talking to Jared. I'm like, hey, man, should I go hunt this deer? He's like, no, you should just back out. Don't pressure the deer. Just leave him alone.
What?
And I'm like, screw you, man. I'm going to go in there.
Time out. It was a 50-50 call. Yeah. All right, the odds were in my favor either way. It was either going to happen or it wasn't.
Exactly. Good
I
news.
just went
either
with
way.
it, man.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going out. And I start heading out. And I'm like, I don't know where in this spot he is.
I also
haven't-
gave you the ultimate decision. I said, hey, man, this is what I would do.
Yeah,
But I'm with you, whatever you like.
Exactly.
If you want to get aggressive, just get after it.
I felt like I just felt dangerous that morning. So I'm walking out, and
They said he was John Wayne.
that's right. I'm just walking out like, oh yeah, dude, I'm feeling big man today. So I start heading out, grab my bow, and as I'm walking out, I'm like, I'm just gonna grab my antlers, right? I don't know. I hardly rattle. In Michigan, we're very pressured, and a lot of times just rattling, at least that was what I was taught growing up, doesn't work. Well, this year we found out if you rattle differently, you break branches and crap, make it sound more realistic, it does work. So I grab them. I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of late in the year. It's gun season started. Who knows? I'm just kind of moving my way through this. It's like a how would you describe that? Like swampy area. It's
like
not
a flooded river bottom.
like
where
a
there's
flooded
just, like,
river bottom that always is flooded, but not too mucky. And I'm just kind of like
just a high water table.
yeah, slopping through there and going real slow. And I look over and I see this different buck that was even bigger than the one I had on camera, which is awesome. And he's just rubbing his head on, his eye on a licking branch, just doing that whole thing. I'm like, oh shit! So I quick duck down, right? I'm like, I am in the open, like there's like little brush that's like 2 feet high. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I just stay down, and eventually I look up, and I think he must have fed away. I'm like, I don't know. So I decide to move to a little more brush. I'm like, I'm feeling dangerous, like I said. I'm going to grab those antlers. I'm just going to rattle. I'm going to break some stuff, and I'm going to go just nuts and see if this deer at least will pop out and I can see where he is and make a shot. Because he was, when I had seen him last, probably at 60 yards. Well, rattle up, and sure enough, within 20 seconds of rattling, he is at 20 yards. Walking, in. I'm on the ground, and we're staring eye to eye at 20 yards, just out of nowhere, just so fast. And so I'm like, crap, he just keeps walking, but he keeps putting his head down. I'm like, he's going to blow me.
Gross.
So what I need, yeah, that's my bad. I should have said that differently.
Watch
He's going to realize that I'm sitting, there, and he's going to make dude.
Got him.
That's where you're recalculating on that.
That's right. Reset.
That was a lob ball right there, man.
So anyways, I end up trying to draw when he's not looking at blow it. All that to say is now I know he's there. I've only got one trail camera. No pre-hung sets, no anything, no 42 for 69 acres. And my thought is next year I've got some good intel now on some bucks that cruise through there. I've got one camera and I'm seeing several good bucks move through. So as I'm hearing this from you, this is a long-winded question actually. As I'm hearing you, I'm thinking like, well, 42. I should probably put some more stuff out there, really get a feel for it. So if you're me, what are you going to do? How are you going to figure out that piece of property? Remember, it's public land, so people are going to steal some stuff if they come about it.
Yeah.
Oh well,
I mean, at the end of the day, that property, like I said, is right across the road for me, and I've been hunting. Can you hear me now?
Much better. Yeah, I didn't want to hear. You were getting to the punchline.
Oh, all right, here we go. But November, and for instance, every year it goes like this. When November gets there, you want to go off your trail camera pictures. You want to do this, you want to do that. You want to be all, I guess you would say keep it professional. That crap don't work, man.
Right.
You go off your gut instinct. You go off your killer instinct, and you walk in there just like you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you follow your gut, and I would say 99% you're going to get opportunities at deer.
Yeah.
Because one, you went in there, you looked at the freshest sign you seen, you got jacked up, or you sat on the ground, and you made the right moves at the right time. Every year in November that I can remember, that's how I'm successful, and I usually do really well in November. And that's how we do it. You go off your heat cover, what I call it, where them bucks are going to run through bumping them, blowdowns or so forth.
Right.
Trying to pick up them does. And man, like for instance, this year, you could sit in a stand that you think is bad to the bone, just like that spot you got.
Yeah.
And you got a south wind. And you ain't seeing any, man, they just ain't here. But the next day, the north wind ain't right for you, but it's right for him. And dude, you go sit in that joker in a north wind, son, it's like you flipped a light switch on, dude.
Sure.
There's bucks running everywhere, and you're like, man, that's all it took was just that switch of that wind.
That's a good point.
And people overlook that.
Yeah.
And I always say it. I always try to at least give one set 3 to 4 sets, maybe 5, if I know he's in there, because he's going to be on a 3 to 5 day swing.
Yeah, exactly. And that cycle that he.
And when you get burnt out, and I've seen it a million times at outfitters or my outfitter or lease property, or even myself or y'all guys too. You got a big deer on camera and you sit there and you pound on that joke for 3 or 4 days. And you're just like, man, he just ain't there.
Right.
And you got a cell camera there, and it never fails that day that you're like, man, I'm just going I'm going to chill out, or I'm going to go hunt another spot, look at something else. That's sucker, and hope and pray to God that nobody else kills it.
Exactly.
That's the prayer, man.
It's all mental. It's mental, dude. It's mental. It's all mental.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you do kind of know. All of a sudden, you're like, even when I was out there, I'm like, And this is a reason sometimes I have a hard time hunting with other people. But if I'm by myself, a lot of times I can slow down and start to think about. You just kind of know what to do. And sometimes when I'm with somebody, I feel like I have a harder time, just doing my own thing.
But you don't want to offend them, or you don't want to step on their toes.
Right.
And the worst thing you can do, and I hate to say this, but I never call a buddy and ask him his opinion, because it never fails. He's different than what
Mistake
yours
number
is.
one.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's the deal, because I'll catch myself. I'll think about it, and there's one or two people I'll call.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, now they'll say, man, why you call me? You already know what you're gonna do. I was like, well, I just want to hear your input on it.
That's exactly right. You know what?
40.
I like to think of myself as a president with nuclear codes, right? I called you. I called two other people.
Who?
I was texting.
Was I first?
You were first, obviously.
Please.
But then after you were wrong, I decided to call two other people.
I wish.
Matt.
That goes a long way.
Yeah, we lost you there. It just cut out. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
There we go.
You were sounding like the Matrix there for a second.
Yeah. So what I was saying, I called you, Jared. I had Justin on, so I'm like, hey, Justin, what do you think?
What did he say?
He said, go for it, get in there. And Scott, my older cousin, who kind of like got me, like when I was a kid, would take me out. He kind of took me under his wing a little bit when I was younger, fishing. Bought a bass fishing with him too. Anyways, they were both like, go for it. And honestly, I was going to go for it either way, but I just wanted to hear what other people were going to say, because I already was on my way out when I called
I may or may not have tried to convince you not to go so that I could go.
Yeah, that's fair.
Later on. Right?
Yeah, go hunt somewhere else. I'm just going to hang around here.
No bucks around here.
But you do get that gut feeling sometimes, and it's when you can follow it, it does kind of end up paying off. I found a lot of times this year especially, going out and just going slow, really slow to your stand, or even if you're just going into a spot that you don't really know very well, really slow, even in the morning hours. I've gotten into more deer this year that way. That's how I shot my buck on the island. Mm-hmm. That's how I had that. I had a buck at 18 yards I missed with the recurve. A lot of bad endings.
Oh.
I had this and I had this buck in twice, or this buck and the other buck in the same area, all just by sneaking, like kind of going slow and just sitting where I felt right and just waiting. And again, I'm 1 for 4 there, but still, it's not bad for encounters.
Ain't bad odds.
No, it's not bad.
Ain't bad odds.
So anyway, so you're
I'll tell you,
yeah.
Another thing too, like during the rut, which I don't know how y'all's land lays out or whatnot, but like down here where I hunt at in the Midwest, there's a bunch of leaves, and it's always loud if it ain't rained.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
As dumb as it sounds, man, if I go in at dark, when I walk in, every 10 steps, I'll bump my grunt 3 or 4 times. Just burp, burp, burp.
Oh, yeah. We do the same thing.
Have you ever heard of the buck run?
Jared, this is Jared's thing.
I'm like, when you're sprinting?
No, I'm not a sprinter. You see what I look like? I can't sprint like that no more, man. It's more of a jog. The buck jog.
Jog.
Yeah.
Like that rut, slow, steady pace.
Yes. You get to your stand in half the time. All right. You might start sweating a little bit more, but you just run.
You know what you got to do?
Go
in your undies. Dress when you get there. Go in your undies. Do the buck run in your undies so you don't get over hot. By the time you get to your stand, you're warm.
I might have to rename it the buck jog.
The naked buck run.
Yuck.
I think it's the naked buck run. Jared's patented. But he grunts. You do it. You called in a couple bucks that way.
I have. I completely agree with you. I know we just went on a tangent, but I always have to bring that up when people are talking about, sounding like a deer going through the woods. I bring up the buck run.
Oh, when I sneak out, I don't always try to be quiet. Like you just do the heel-toe step with each foot.
Like
and
crunch, 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 crunch.
Exactly. And then you kind of do it uneven. And honestly, I don't know. You walk right out. Deer don't seem to really care that much. If you break a stick, then I stop because I feel like they do care about that.
Yeah,
that's. And you're like, oh god.
Yeah. In my mind, I instantly think the whole hunt is ruined.
Or if you were the guy and you're being super quiet, like you're you're dodging that stuff. You know, you're stepping over your, the Fred Bear Ten Commandments. Then all of a sudden you hear behind you,
Yeah.
come on, man.
I know. You're with your buddy. You
Yeah.
hate the guy behind you. I always feel like the guy I'm with is way louder than me.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I've had to
100%.
lecture so many field producers or camera guys behind you. You're like, that limb snaps, and you just look at them, and they just look like, I'm so sorry. You know,
It hurts
Oh,
you to
you
your
will
core.
be.
When you hear it, it's like, ugh.
just roll your foot, bud. It ain't that freaking hard.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
roll it. You know, flat.
It's like taking
And,
that bite into bird shot. You know how it just wakes you up?
Yeah,
It's like, ugh.
yeah,
That's how I feel.
yeah, dude.
Well, I mean,
Like you just got your pay knocked down a little bit, buddy. Good job.
there's obvious ways around that. You're talking like the easy stuff. Just roll your foot. If you feel something hard, just kind of, just roll your foot around down. Another thing we started using is just the wind.
When the wind blows or a car drives by.
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but when you get that gust of wind blowing over you, and if it's dry, leaves out, that makes a lot of noise.
Stay in the shadows.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Stay in the shadows, move with the wind.
Yeah.
You'll
You feel like you're actually hunting rather than just sitting there.
Mhm.
If you do a lot of that kind of stuff, getting out and in, like it feels like you're doing something, Getting out to my stand, I feel like that's been effective. But like with all this in mind, you had this 42 lock. Like how many cameras should I be putting out to find out? This is like a 90-acre parcel of land, right?
give it a smooth 100, man.
A smooth 100 acres of land, like
Yeah, just round it off.
yeah,
off.
like are you?
Okay.
You're me, and you found this property. You're seeing some buck sign. Are you throwing more cameras on there next year? Or are you just keeping that one? How are you figuring out that piece of land?
Honestly, can you bait on it?
No, I don't. I just
Let's
generally
say-
don't. We'll just say not.
Let's say no, for this reason.
Okay. No. I would say on 100 acres, I'd at least have at least 10 on it.
10.
And
Well,
why?
I'm not
and why?
made of
and
money,
At least
man.
10.
I'm not made of money.
But what I would do, and when I say 10, and I would have them set up, and which I don't know how y'all's terrain lays out by no means, but I would definitely do the mock scrapes or try to find that community mock scrape that you could get fired up early.
Yeah.
And that could cut down, because if you can ever look up and fire that one magical scrape up,
Yeah.
I mean that's your ticket, because that's like the deer's. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, they're gonna check it to see what's
been
going
there.
on, how
Yeah.
they're doing it, who's been there, what everybody's status is,
like a
and
few leaves.
that's how I killed that good deer this year in Velvet in Tennessee. Like I had that deer working that scrape, dude, in June. And I
Yeah.
had him working that scrape from June to the day I shot him.
Interesting.
And he had six bucks running with him.
Well, that's.
So are you going in? Are
So
you
you're
going
making
in
a mock
full-
scrape.
You're making a mock scrape. Are you jumping right into the property, or are you, using aerial maps? Are you scouting from a distance? What's your
It
approach
really
on
just
there?
depends. If it's where I can scout from a distance and it's got big fields and crop fields, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to sit there and glass it, 100%. But sometimes I don't really tell you. And, trail cameras don't always tell you what the deal is. Like last year, I've stumbled upon this piece of property. We was riding around glassing in Kentucky, and it was right at dusky dark. And I looked down this field, and there's like 200 deer in this soybean field. And I'm like, holy crap, y'all boys, y'all hunt this. And they're like, yeah, we don't really see no deer down there. I hadn't had much on camera.
You're right.
And I'm like, okay, well, the deer that I was supposed to hunt wasn't showing up. He done went nocturnal on us. So I told my buddy TJ, I said, man, something. I said, let's just go to this property. We'll build up some content, make a show out of it. And I said, that deer starts slipping up on this full moon. I said, we'll go kill it. So he tells me exactly there's a 120 and a 130 going to come from my right. And then there's going to be a 130 and maybe possibly a 140 come from my left. And this show aired on Pursuit Channel and all the other networks and on YouTube on our channel. We're sitting there, dude, and we're 50 deer deep in this bean field, and we're sitting in the most junkiest piece of crap double bull blind that's like here. It's crap. Like it's junk.
Yeah.
Like it's junk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Sure.
Dude, we're
bottom
sitting there,
bitch.
and all of a sudden I look to the right, and there's a buck 70 steps out of the wood line with 12-inch brows, and I'm like, that ain't no buck 20 or no buck 30.
No.
And then here comes a 150, and then here comes a 140, here comes another 170, here comes a 160, here comes a 150, and I'm like, where'd these things come from?
Right.
And this is all in the same field. And y'all got to take a all these deer in here and 70 deer in the field win. And yeah, we got a trail camera set up, but guess what? It ain't got a one of them on camera. You know, and they've been glassing it and just that day, those in that field, I hunted that field probably off and on all year long last year.
Yeah.
Ended up killing a really good deer right at the end of the year and shot that big deer. He ducked me like 10, 12 inches. It's painful. It hurts me to say this, but I didn't ever find him. He's still living. And, but, you know, trail cameras are great, but they always don't tell you what you need to know at the end of the day.
They give you an image. They give you a tickle.
They let you know, but they can give you false advertisement or they can give you the right one. You just don't never know. You need to go sit there at least 3 days to figure out what the deal is. Cause we was in Illinois this past time. I shot a mega giant up there and I had a trail camera there for like a month and I was getting some decent, 120s, 130s. Well, the big boys is on the other side of the field, and
right.
I would have never knew they was there if I didn't go sit in that stand.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you can't see very much.
Where I had it out.
Yeah.
So really, a trail camera's kind of like a woman.
Okay.
You can get those. You can get some good sign.
Uh-huh.
You can get some bad sign.
Yeah.
It usually takes about the third sit or the third date to really figure stuff out.
Wow, that is. I mean, that's a pretty big reach, but I'm following. I'm trying to follow.
Tracking with me?
Yeah. So kind of.
All right, maybe that was a bad one.
That was a ballsy move.
You know what?
That was a ballsy
We're gonna
move.
give him credit for it. That was a great analogy.
Was it?
No,
not so bad.
No, we're gonna give you credit.
That really was. That really was.
No,
Kudos.
I like that. I like that. That's. I feel like for putting a trail camera out, I mean, you can kind of figure stuff out. Like I put it over a scrape, honestly, and so it's kind of hit or miss. Like early season, I'm guessing I'll see more of there. Lately, it's just all of a sudden you'll see like a doe one day and then 3 little bucks will run through, or something like that. But since that encounter, I've not seen either of those big bucks out there. So
Have you given them a name yet?
should I get? Well, what
It's
was
up
the
to you,
name?
man.
You had something. What was the
You
name?
said Bone Crusher.
Bone Crusher? Is that your name of your buck? What do I
Yeah,
name
that
my
one.
buck? He crushed my heart like a heart crusher when I didn't get to shoot him.
Heartbreaker.
Heartbreaker, baby.
Because he broke my heart when I tried to kill him, and he
Old
didn't let me
HB.
kill him.
Old HB, man.
Yeah. No, that's good.
I
well,
like that.
hey, Matt, I know we're coming up on time. I promised I'd have you out early. You know what? Actually, on the way here, I'm texting him. I'm like, hey, man, I'm running 5 minutes late. The roads are bad. And as I was texting, I'm like slowly, when you try to turn in the snow and your car just keeps going straight. I'm texting him. I'm like, oh, I'm going to hit a curb. And he texted me back. He's like, hey, man, it's 70 and sunny here.
What a dick.
I know. And it's just snow's coming down. I'm cold in my car. So,
Dude, it's 65 down here right now.
Shut up.
Must
We
be
always
nice.
see you. Where are you sitting, by the way?
I'm in my truck because in my house I ain't got a lick of service.
you are not.
Are you sitting in the back seat looking forward? I see something like behind you, like a
I think
screen.
that's
that's
a reflection.
Oh,
that's
that
my
I got you.
That's my back glass.
I
yeah.
thought maybe someone was driving you around like you're a big shot and you just wanted to podcast, like
Yeah,
sitting
that's
in the
right.
back.
And the back of your Matt. When you have a hunting show, you get.
If I didn't knew, this is my first Zoom deal.
You're
Oh,
doing,
yeah.
you're doing a good
Because usually
job.
I'm just on the phone because usually I'm just on the phone. So when that Zoom thing come through, I was like, shit. I gotta download this app. And
I gotta
was
look
like, no,
presentable now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was like, dang, I need to go get me a jacket. I got my V-neck on.
Hey man,
70 degrees.
if you got it, you gotta flaunt it.
Gotta flex.
You
gotta
got,
flex.
and you know
You
what?
gotta flex
I respect
sometimes,
a
man.
deep V. I respect a deep V. So
I do too,
I
man.
feel like you're not the only one of our podcast guests who had to be in their truck to get service for a podcast.
You're really not.
In fact, a large majority, I think.
I would say almost
Maybe
20%.
I would say that was exactly what I was going to say, about
20%.
20%. That's great.
There was a time we had a guy on, and he was up in northern Michigan, and it was so hot outside that he had to be in the truck in the AC.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be so hot.
Just to cast with us.
Well, Matt, I appreciate you coming on, but I want people to be able to watch your show, to follow you on social media. Do you mind sharing how they can get a hold of you, how they can follow along and do all that stuff?
Yeah, man. The game on Carbon TV, Mossy Oak Go app, Hunt Channel TV, my Outdoor TV, Pursuit Channel, third and fourth quarter at 7:30 prime time Eastern time, if I ain't mistaken. And then the game, Matt Jennings, on YouTube.
Yep.
And I think that's about it. And then the game on Facebook, and then Matthew_Jennings 1990 the game on Instagram.
Is that your birth year, 1990?
Show is
1990?
Really?
I would have thought you were older. You play older than younger than me. I thought he was older than me this whole time. Huh.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
So you
88.
saying I look old? I look old? What you
I don't know.
saying, dude?
It's hard to say. You got the deep V. It's very intimidating.
Yeah, it's
you know what I'm
kinda-
saying?
Well, you got the full man chew going.
Hey,
on
you
over
like
here.
it?
It'd take me a year to grow that.
It did
Hey,
take me about a year to grow this.
You should have seen me last week, man.
Jared, I know. I saw
Might have been Grizzly Adams to you.
Jared. I saw
Oh,
Jared
yeah.
sneeze really hard once, and a beard came out. So like he grows beards like it's nothing.
You always got them buddies like that, man. You're like, dude, it'd take me 6 months to grow that.
I hate
Now,
him for it.
It took 3 days,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's good.
I respect
Good
it,
for
but
you,
I hate
Jared.
it. I wish I had it, but Anyways, well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, buddy. Y'all have a good evening. Thanks
Thanks,
for having
Matt.
me on.